Fake news and disinformation is dividing Indian society across political and religious lines.
In the Indian context, religion has been weaponized as a source of disinformation to target minorities.
उनने आके सब ये मकान तोड़ फोड़ दिए.
There's no editorial filter. There's nothing. It's like a drip by drip poison in your brain.
जो टारगेट की बात करें तो अभी तो फिलहाल obviously कांग्रेस ही है टारगेट.
Communities across India are desperately seeking countermeasures.
Basically, she rationalizes violence.
Convince YouTube to take down the channel.
आप रिपोर्ट पे क्लिक करेंगे तो फेसबुक या फिर इंस्टाग्राम या फिर यूट्यूब जहाँ पे भी आप रिपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, we're constantly consuming information that we do not know if it's right or wrong.
Assalamualaikum, namaskar sir.
Fact-checking health misinformation is a challenge.
November 25th, 2023. It's polling day in the state of Rajasthan. At stake are 200 seats of the Legislative Assembly. A divisive political battle is underway between two traditional arch-rivals. The Narendra Modi-led Bharatiya Janata Party is up against the state's incumbent, the Indian National Congress, led by Rahul Gandhi. Competing rallies are held to woo the voters with talk of economic development at the heart of this political rivalry. But a battle of narratives is also being fought in cyberspace. Congress leader Ashok Gehlot's speech is live-streamed on Facebook and goes viral on social media site X. The Congress leader is seen stopping his own supporters from chanting pro-Modi slogans. The clip is reshared by verified user Rishi Bagri and viewed by more than 488,000 users. But a fact check on the Congress Facebook live stream confirms that the video has been doctored, with Modi slogans added later. A few days earlier, the Congress Party X handle uploads an opposition candidate's video during the state elections in Telangana. The leader is seen imploring his own voters to support the opposition Congress candidate. It's viewed by more than 500,000 X users. But a fact check reveals the original video has been edited out of context, with opposition politician Sharmila's opinion presented as the leader's own viewpoint.
కేసీఆర్ ఓడించడమే నా జీవిత లక్ష్యం అందుకే నేను తప్పుకుంటున్నా కాంగ్రెస్ కే గుద్దండి అందరూ కలిసి ఇది షర్మిల గారు.
This is the new political reality of disinformation in India. Before fake news is fact-checked, the content has already influenced millions of voters. A 2023 Statista survey confirms the extent of the problem. Disinformation and misinformation were ranked as the #1 risk threatening India. outranking infectious diseases, illicit economic activity, and inequality. We track the workings of a disinformation operation in Nimbahera, a small town in the state of Rajasthan. Freelancers like Anil Kumar Bharat are in high demand during election season in India. Known as IT cell workers, thousands like him are recruited by political parties to spread propaganda online. Operatives like Anil are often on the move, traveling to wherever their services are required. They're typically housed in nondescript hotels like these, modest and discreet.
मेरा नाम अनिल कुमार है और मैं बीजेपी आईटी सेल में काम करता हूँ। बीजेपी आईटी सेल मेनली इंफॉर्मेशन सर्कुलेट करने का काम करता है, एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है और मैं पिछले 1.5 साल से इसमें काम कर रहा हूँ। बेसिकली हमें कोई हायर ऐसी एजेंसी नहीं होती है हायर करने वाली। हमको जो कैंडिडेट्स होते हैं जब चुनाव आते हैं तब वही हायर करते हैं, एज अ फ्रीलांसर ही हम काम करते हैं और 40-50 हज़ार हमारी सैलरी होती है। व्हाट्सएप वीडियो के मेन टॉपिक्स आप देख लीजिए, मोदी से रिलेटेड कोई घोषणाएं उनकी, राष्ट्रवाद, हिंदुत्व, ये सब हमारे मेन एजेंडाज हैं। उसके बाद टॉपिक्स के बाद जब हम हमारी टीम में एडिटर, स्क्रीन राइटर, आर्टिस्ट हम बाहर से मंगाते हैं, उसके बाद एक पूरी स्क्रिप्ट लिखी जाती है और फिर हम परफॉर्म करते हैं।
Today, Anil's assignment is to record villager testimonies speaking against a political party.
और कांग्रेस के राज में, कांग्रेस के शासन में ये सब हुआ है, कितनी राजनीतिक हत्याएं होती है और यही वो बच्चा किसी और घर का होता, उसकी हत्या होती।
सही। ठीक है, रोल रेडी है?
ठीक है अंकल, अब हम शुरू करेंगे।
ठीक।
कैमरामैन रेडी? ओके, रोल।
इधर नहीं गयो तो लास्ट में निम्बाड़ा है मरो इद्दो। अच्छा। बोल कर रहा। राते घर पे बंदूक वाली लीन बावरिया में नहीं गया था ये और तो भैया खुद ही करो मेरा घर के बाहर में बोली 1 घंटा थी।
With no fact check on his content, Anil is free to propagate anything that works in his political client's favor. In 2019, the BJP planned to hire 200,000 cyber warriors like Anil in the state of Uttar Pradesh alone.
हेलो, हाँ अर्षद, एक बार कलर ग्रेडिंग देख लेना ना, मैं तेरे को स्क्रीनशॉट खींच के भेज रहा हूँ उससे ही। हाँ।
In April 2019, Facebook took down 700 pages that were reportedly run by supporters of both Congress and BJP, spreading fake news. Fake news is an industry in India. A 15-year-long investigation by Disinfolab unearthed 750 fake media outlets operating from India and spanning across 119 countries, with 550 domain names spreading fake news.
ये हमारी बिल्कुल एक टीम होती है कमेंट सेक्शन में जो कमेंट करती है और हमारा मेन काम होता है उस टीम का शायद डिफेम का, और कहीं ना कहीं जो वो चीज़ें अपलोड करते हैं उन्हीं के कमेंट सेक्शन में हम जाके उनको डिफेम करते हैं। जैसे टारगेट की बात करें तो अभी तो फ़िलहाल ऑब्वियसली कांग्रेस ही है टारगेट करने की चीज़, और कार्टून कैरिकेचर बनाते हैं हम मीम के पर्पस में, और ये सब चीज़ें वायरल कंटेंट दिखाने में मेरा टाइम नहीं लगता क्योंकि लोगों को पसंद आती है ये सब चीज़ें, कार्टून देखना, वो सब ड्रामेटिक चीज़ें वैसे लोगों को पसंद आती तो अपने आप हो जाता है।
कौन प्रोपेगेंडा कर रहा है इसकी पोल मैं खोल कर रखूंगा। आज तथ्यों के साथ आप देखिए कि
Journalist Swathi Chaturvedi uncovered the clandestine workings of political trolls. She lifted the veil over this murky subject in her book, I Am a Troll, that took 2 years to investigate.
So then I started investigating and I found out that this was completely organized. And I spoke to trolls. They spread hate on an industrial scale on social media. There's no check, there's no editorial filter, there's nothing. You know, so you're basically telling, you're provoking people, you're inciting people. And people are gullible enough to, you know, we used to have earlier a lot of faith in the written word. Now people look at their screen and they're scrolling constantly and they are getting a diet of literally steady hate. It's like a drip by drip poison in your brain.
This concoction of cyber trolling and fake news can impact free speech, a key pillar of democracy. The Editors Guild of India urged the government to reject a proposed amendment that aimed to counter fake news on social media, claiming it would be akin to censorship.
It's frightening, actually. The entire atmosphere, it's an entire ecosystem of just fake forwards, morphed pictures, morphed videos, deepfakes. To actually tell is very difficult because it's overwhelming. It's there all the time, and how much can you fact check?
भारत को प्रेम करने वाले, लोकतंत्र को प्रेम करने वाले.
So see, the government understands what a huge weapon information is, and you know they want to control the information. They don't care if it's a bad faith actor peddling lies. Every citizen in India needs to start asking questions and stop hating other Indians who are your fellow citizens.
But a dangerous mix of fake news and religious polarization on the web is now resulting in death and destruction. August 2023. Communal harmony in the Muslim-majority district of Nuh in Haryana is violently shaken. Days before the annual Brajbandal pilgrimage to a Hindu temple in Nuh, social media is flooded with provocative messages and fake news. Hindutva right-wing leader Bittu Bajrangi goes on a Facebook Live.
हम निकलेंगे धौस से फूल माला तैयार रखना कोई दिक्कत नहीं है चीज आ रहे तुम्हारे हाँ बिल्कुल
Monu is a criminal on the run and is wanted for the murder of 2 Muslims.
लेकिन इस 31 तारीख की जो यात्रा थी उससे 2 दिन पहले जो बिट्टू बजरंगी था इस यात्रा से 1 दिन पहले एक वीडियो रिलीज़ की थी और जिसमें उन्होंने पूरे मेवात को और मुसलमानों को टारगेट करके और बहन बेटियों को टारगेट करके ये कहा था कि तुम्हारा दामाद आ रहा है और तुम फूल माला तैयार रखना.
This video spreads like wildfire across WhatsApp messages in Nuh, infuriating the local Muslim community.
ये देखिए फरीदाबाद से बिट्टू बजरंगी अपनी पूरी टीम के साथ है. फरीदाबाद से बिट्टू बजरंगी.
As the Hindu procession arrives, Nuh's Muslim community launch an attack, thinking Monu is present. The Hindu procession retaliates. Chaos ensues. Social media posts add fuel to the fire. Verified ex-user Chandan Sharma shares an inflammatory tweet using old imagery with the text. It is very sad to see all this, that this is the condition of Hindus in the country of 120 crore Hindus. Are you getting beaten up all around? To prevent fake news from spreading further, internet services in parts of Nuh are snapped. But the damage had been done. 18 shops owned by Nawab Sheikh are reduced to rubble.
मेरे पास किराएदारों का फ़ोन गया जो रेंट पे दे रखी है दुकानें मैंने दाएं बाएं सारी किराए पे दे रखी थी। किराए पे दे रखी थी सर मैंने। इनसे मेरा गुजारा हो रहा। मैं आया यहाँ पर भाई दुकानों को तोड़ रहे हैं। ना नोटिस दिया ना कुछ दिया। मैं आके यहाँ पर रोने लगा, चीखने लगा, बातचीत करने लगा। भाई मुझे डीसी से मिलाया जाए, भाई क्यों मेरी दुकानों को तोड़ा जा रहा है।
Duri Chung, a Hindu resident of Nuh, lost his home in the carnage as well.
उनने आके साहब ये मकान तोड़ फोड़ दिए। कोई सामान लिख लो किसी का, कोई सामान नहीं लिख रहा हमारे यहाँ। अब ये तो ऐसा यही, अब गरीब आदमी है। अब हमारे ये सब उनके मकान तोड़ फोड़ दिए। कुछ मुआवजा कुछ नहीं मिला जी। हमें कुछ ना मिलो।
The riots resulted in at least 7 fatalities and over 200 reported injuries.
झूठ और फेक न्यूज़ और अफवाहों को फैलाने का काम भी सोशल मीडिया के माध्यम से हुआ है और ये घटना भी इसका एक बहुत बड़ा उदाहरण है किस तरह स्टेट गवर्नमेंट इस फेक को, इस र्यूमर्स को इनको नहीं कंट्रोल कर सकी और इस तरह के एलिमेंट्स को इन्होंने मौका दिया कि वो जो है ये इस ऐसे जो है दंगों में और ऐसी झगड़ों में आपस में मुब्तला हुए।
Disinformation, driven to create a religious wedge in Nuh for political ends, was spurred on by elements in the media. Tracking the rise of fake news and its impact on religious minorities is Washington-based Kashmiri journalist Rakib Hamid Naik. He runs Hindutva Watch that monitors hate crimes across India.
In the Indian context, religion has been weaponized as a source of disinformation to target minorities. Weaponizing religion serves both ideological and political ends. By promoting this, by weaponization of religion, they continuously present Muslims as the other, Muslims as someone Hindus should fear, Muslims as someone who are there to overtake the country. So it is very important for the ruling party and its affiliates and its ideological mentors to keep this division alive, and they are using disinformation.
Rakib himself has been a victim of religiously targeted fake news, forcing him to leave India.
In India's case, if the critic is a Muslim, you just label them Pakistani to dent the credibility of your project. So that's what they did. Disinfo Lab is a deep state-run disinformation campaign targeting critics. What happened was, and surprisingly, Disinfo Lab did a whole thread on Hindutva Watch and put out this fancy chart with different set of pictures, claiming that Hindutva Watch technical backend is managed by someone in Pakistan, some guy named Adil Kiani. That was the first time I heard his name.
Naik and his team work remotely from locations around the world. They scour social media sites, messaging apps, and chat rooms, looking for hateful videos, text, and speech in various Indian languages, and report them.
And we also need to understand, when you undertake a fear-mongering exercise against a certain set of your population, and imagine how can a Hindu neighbor living in a remote part of India trust his Muslim neighbor or have any harmony, any cordial relations with him.
In January 2024, Indian law enforcement agencies successfully petitioned Twitter to suspend Hindutva Watch for its content. Fact-checking hateful content in India comes with a price to pay. Alt News is an Indian non-profit fact-checking website founded and run by former software engineer Pratik Sinha. In July 2022, his co-founder, Mohammad Zubair, was arrested by Delhi police after a complaint was lodged by a troll account for allegedly hurting religious sentiments. He was charged under Section 295A and Section 67 of the IT Act for a satirical tweet he posted in 2018, where he shared an unedited screenshot from a 1983 Indian comedy film.
This is part of targeting Zubair, especially because Zubair's Muslim identity makes it easier to target him. Disinformation is a tool of propaganda. What an autocratic government does is that it wants to control every pillar of information. We get our money through donations, so we have no corporate funding, and as a result, we are able to rather fact check anyone and anything, and especially people in power, and that is why we have been targeted a lot. And the reason is because we are impactful and we are effective. Disinformation has caused such widespread animosity in this country to the point that we have spoken about extermination of a certain community.
Today, the Alt News team is searching for provocative messages that influence public opinion in favor of a political party.
So, for example, this seems like from her Facebook page. It says, हम भाईचारा बराबरी से निभाना चाहते हैं. अगर हमारी एक हिंदू बहन का किसी जिहादी के द्वारा बलात्कार किया जाए तो उनकी 10 उठा लो. हर हर महादेव.
She basically rationalizes violence and she says that if needed, we will use it.
She works at Sanatan Dharm. Yeah.
Page called Hindu Sherni fan page. Khushbu Pandey alias Hindu Sherni Hindu Tigress is a firebrand Hindu fanatic known for inflammatory jibes against Muslims and her enthusiasm for Hindu extremism. Convinced YouTube to take down the channels.
Fact-checking across India is gaining traction. But rumors on messaging apps continue to blur the lines between fact and fiction. July 2018. A mob in India lynches 5 people after rumors spread on WhatsApp messages that went viral across a village near Mumbai. The victims were mistakenly believed to be a gang of child kidnappers. A fact check confirms the video was released by a Pakistani NGO to counter child kidnappings in Karachi. More than 23 lynchings have occurred across India since 2017 because of rumors spread on WhatsApp. India now has 480 million internet users. This makes it fertile ground for fake news. Only 38% of households in the country are digitally literate. That means most in the country struggle to evaluate or verify information on digital media platforms. That's where the Digital Empowerment Foundation comes in. A Delhi-based non-profit promoting digital literacy. Akanksha Aluwalia is heading to the village of Alwa today to conduct a digital training class.
I work in the different communities that we have a presence in, especially across 24 states of India. We started talking to the center coordinators, to the community members, and started receiving feedback about spam calls, different kind of misinformation and disinformation that they were receiving.
There are 272 backward districts in the country. DEF India plans to reach all of them.
India is susceptible to fake news, to disinformation, to misinformation because we're constantly consuming information that we do not know if it's right or wrong. So inculcating critical thinking, inculcating the idea of understanding or fact-checking, and also understanding, it's also the fact that there is a very low level of digital literacy that these people are connected to. The Fighting Fake News program was started at a community level to basically create a cadre of information gatekeepers by training them with critical thinking.
In Alwar, Akanksha has trained residents who would eventually set up what is known as Rural Information Enterprise Units. They're equipped with Mera app, a mobile application that also provides information on government schemes and entitlements.
मैं इसका पैसा चेक कर रही हूँ भैया पता नहीं इसमें है या नहीं।
तो अब जैसे पिछले 5 साल में कोविड के बाद स्पेशली बहुत सारी गलत खबर भी आने लग गई थी, स्पेशली यहाँ पे गांव में।
मैं मतलब ना 3-4 सालों से बहुत ज़्यादा अब भी चलता है मैम। ये तो जैसे गलत न्यूज आती है ना, व्हाट्सएप पे भी आती है।
Alwar has made big strides in digital literacy. DEF India has dubbed it Smartpur.
The reason why we call this village Smartpur is because it means basically creating a community at a village level of digitally equipped members. Privileged few in urban areas have access to understanding what fact-checking means, for example, or what Google reverse image means. But a lot of people at the grassroots level that we work with personally do not even have access to Google, for example, because one person in the family will have a phone and that person will have monopoly on that phone.
Akanksha uses specially designed tools to raise awareness about the forces of good and evil in cyberspace.
तो ये है हमारी हीरोज एंड विलेंस किट, जिसमें हमने दिखाए हैं कि ऑनलाइन हीरो कैसे होते हैं और कौन कौन होते हैं। तो डिजिटल लिटरेसी एक हीरो है, क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग एक हीरो है ना। कि अगर कभी आपके पास ऐसा मैसेज आए कि आप लिंक को क्लिक करिए और अपना बिल पे करिए, तो आप उसको पहले सोचिए कि क्या मैं ये करूँ, क्या मेरे पास कभी पहले ऐसे आया है, क्या मैं पहले ऐसे बिल पेमेंट करती थी, और फिर उस लिंक को जांच के आगे बढ़िए। ये हैं आपके कार्ड, ठीक है, जिसने ऑनलाइन वो फ़ोटो पोस्ट कर दी आपकी परमिशन के बिना। मैं आपको 3 कार्ड दूंगी, आपको इसमें से सही जवाब मुझे बताना है, ठीक है।
बधाई हो, आपका ईमेल आईडी पासवर्ड सब मेरे पास है, ठीक है जी। और आपकी सारी फोटोज, सारे जितने भी कॉन्टैक्ट्स हैं वो सब मेरे पास है। तो अगर आपको चाहिए कि मैं आपकी फ़ोटोज़ आगे गंदी बना के ना भेजूं, तो मेरे अकाउंट में अभी के अभी 10,000 रुपये ट्रांसफ़र करिए।
3 महीने में आपको अपना पासवर्ड बदलना है, वो सुरक्षा की दृष्टि से आपके लिए अच्छा है।
आप रिपोर्ट पे क्लिक करेंगे तो फेसबुक या फिर इंस्टाग्राम या फिर यूट्यूब, जहाँ पे भी आप रिपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, वो आपसे पूछेगा कि आप क्यों इस चीज़ को रिपोर्ट करना चाहते हैं। उसमें आप बताएंगे कि आप रिपोर्ट इसलिए करना चाहते हैं क्योंकि आपकी परमिशन, आपके कंसेंट के बिना ये चीज़ ली गई और ऑनलाइन डाली गई।
The Digital Empowerment Foundation has reached 30 million Indians, many from the country's rural heartlands. One such beneficiary is Manju from Smartpur.
देखो, अब चुनाव आ रहा है तो चुनाव में भी फेक न्यूज़ रोजीना की बन रही है। भाई एक दूसरे की जो पार्टी है ना, एक दूसरा की तरफ वो गलत मैसेज दे रही हैं कि भाई कांग्रेस जीत जाएगी तो आतंकवाद फैला देगी, और बीजेपी जीतेगी तो ये चीज़ महंगी हो जाएगी, खाने पीने का राशन महंगा हो जाएगा। देखो सब फेंक आ रही है, फेंक न्यूज़ दे रखी है। सबसे सस्ता गैस सिलेंडर राजस्थान में, सबसे बढ़िया मुफ्त इलाज राजस्थान में, ये सब फेंक है। कच्छु बनाए लेना देना दुनिया में, कच्छु ना ये सब वोटर का मार करे सब।
There are several such successes in India, but they are outpaced by the unrelenting machine of fake news generation. A 2021 study in the Asian Journal for Public Opinion scanned 419 instances of fake news that were accentuated by social media. 81% of the fake news in India studied by them was shared on Facebook. Sophie Zhang is a data scientist who worked on fake accounts in Facebook from 2018 to 2020.
I worked specifically on fake accounts, on what we call fake engagements, which is the use of inauthentic accounts to do things like likes, comments, shares. In the lead up to the Indian 2019 elections, I was able to take down several million, maybe even 10 million fake likes and fans, etc. that were occurring in Indian politics. There is a common stereotype that fake accounts are largely used to spread misinformation and hate speech. It was very sadly real Indians who were behind that violence and strife. And I see no reason to disbelieve the argument that most of the potential increase in communal violence in India is also driven by real Indians.
Facebook has deleted a staggering 27 billion fake accounts since October 2017, which is 3.5 times more than the total population of the planet. But Sophie says inauthentic accounts would always make a comeback, encouraged by the financial incentives at play for those who create them.
What is new in India is not that rumors and hate speech and misinformation exist. It is that these rumors and hate speech and misinformation are widely heard. For instance, when mass rumors on WhatsApp led to mass lynchings in villages in India, that was not because the rumors existed, it's because they spread virally. How can Facebook reduce communal violence, reduce hate speech and misinformation? The correct approach is not banning it, but to reduce virality, to reduce the spread of the message.
As fake news and misinformation rages on in social media, one community radio station is fighting back with the truth. July 2021. The second wave of infections from COVID-19 unleashes havoc across India. Unofficial accounts suggest there are 45 million COVID cases with 6 million deaths reported across the country. It's India's worst tragedy since the partition in 1947. As doctors race to find a vaccine, India's cyberspace descends into a hotbed of medical disinformation and conspiracy theories. From inhaling holy smoke to consuming cow dung and urine,
in Hinduism,
almost any theory that promised a cure was taken seriously.
for centuries Hindus have used
One study estimates that 62% of Indians were unable to identify trustworthy health information on the web.
cow dung.
That left many in India vulnerable to misinformation and potential harm. That study was conducted by the Healthy Indian Project, or THIP, led by Sudipta Sengupta. He decided to build a health literacy platform with the mission to empower Indians with the knowledge and skills to make informed decisions about their health.
India is still a very developing nation. Our internet penetration is growing day by day, A first-time internet user coming from a rural India gets a message on his WhatsApp or on social media which promises a quick fix solution to a very critical health condition. What do you think he will do? A click and forward. That's exactly how health misinformation spreads in India. In a country where a lot of people go below the poverty level only trying to meet their healthcare expenses, these kind of misinformation can create havoc to public health. And the worst part, we do not know how many lives get lost because of such a particular misinformation.
Hello, doctor. How are you? Nearly 55% of THIP respondents felt that they needed help to understand whether a health claim was true or false. Due to the complexity of medical science, consulting doctors to counter medical disinformation is vital for Sudipta.
I believe there was a time when we were told that if you wash the dishwasher liquid, if you drink that, COVID virus will die. And we actually had patients, because we were open for emergency and we were looking after, as eye doctors, also patients for COVID. We had 2-3 patients who walked in Gurgaon saying that yes, we did that, and then we had to immediately give them triage and look after them. So my first problem that I will have is sitting, giving the patient X number of minutes or X number of hours, convincing him that what he actually has doesn't make scientific sense.
Medical disinformation in India is made worse by the limited access to healthcare facilities. India spends 1.5% of its GDP on healthcare, amongst the lowest in the world. Data suggests Indians only have one doctor for every 1,445 people. That's made the job of the Healthy Indian Project even more critical.
Aditi, there is a social media post on in regional languages that says that can tomato cure heart attack? Do you think this can be fact-checked?
Ma'am, I think it is incorrect. I searched and found a few research papers that says that tomato contains a few nutrients that have anti-cancerous properties. So that might reduce the risk of heart attack, but it cannot cure a heart attack.
So this can be fact-checked?
Yeah.
Because this is a kind of misinformation.
Yes.
Conflicting views on health is very common in India, owing to a long history of multidisciplinary medicinal fields. Along with modern medicine or allopathy, India has 6 government-approved systems of alternative medicine. These include Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani and Yoga, naturopathy and homeopathy.
Fact-checking health misinformation in a country like India is not easy. Every step is a challenge. This country speaks 22 languages. We have multidisciplinary medicinal fields approved by the government, many of which do not agree to each other. So when we fact-check, we have to take that cultural, religious bias attached to a particular medicinal field into account and also seek advice or quotes from the experts of those medicinal fields.
Educating a large Indian population on how to identify correct medical information became a massive challenge in places like Haryana. Noor district is one of the worst performing regions in India based on health, education and standard of living. 40% of the population here is multidimensionally poor. Nutrition, child and adolescent mortality metrics don't fare well either. These conditions make free health education on this radio station much needed programming. Launched in 2010, Radio Mewat has played a critical role in allaying the fears and apprehensions of locals by fighting medical disinformation.
नमस्कार साथियों, आप सुन रहे हैं आपका अपना सामुदायिक रेडियो मेवात 90.4 FM। मैं हूं आपके साथ आपकी रेडियो दोस्त फरहीन और मेरे साथ है सौरभ।
Farheen and Saurabh belong to Noor, and host a daily show where listeners can call in live with their medical queries.
अच्छा, तो नजमा जी अगर हम बात करें कोविड यानी कि जो कोरोना आओ था, उसमें गांव के लोगों की क्या सोच थी, क्या विचार थे, कैसे सोचते थे लोग कोरोना को लेकर?
कोरोना के लेकर तो ये सोचती कुछ भी नहीं है और सुई वगैरह कुछ नहीं लगवाते, इसीलिए
The station broadcasts 13 hours of content in Hindi, Urdu and Mewati on a daily basis. All employees are no residents, making it easier for them to create bonds of trust with their listenership.
रेडियो में वक्त बाद जैसे डिलीवरी हो जावे है,
हाँ।
तो जो स्तनपान टाइम है, दूध पिलाने का टाइम रहे बच्चे को,
यहाँ तो जी सुई हुई लगवाई जब ने कही, इनसे तो इतनी ज़्यादा बीमारी फैल जाएगी, बच्चे बंद हो जाएंगे,
अच्छा।
बच्चे नहीं होंगे, उम्र कम हो जाएगी, इनसे मर भी सके, धोखे से लगवा रहे हैं इंजेक्शन।
Radio Mewat works to debunk such myths and misconceptions. The station was launched by SMART, a non-profit that uses a combination of traditional and modern communication technologies.
There was a lot of mistrust and distrust between the administration and the community. The community was creating a lot of rumors on girls should not get vaccinated because fertility issues would arise. Boys should not get vaccinated because it will lead to their potency issues. Those vaccines which were paid for were genuine. Only 27% of the population had had its first dose. The district collector then, he invited us and he said, how can you help us? And within 6 months, we had 100% first dose and second dose vaccination. In fact, the Prime Minister said that Radio Mewat has done a great job. Radio Mewat stood strong to this call, took it on itself, this whole responsibility of breaking myths, busting misinformation, and creating peace and tranquility in the community.
The station is now followed by at least 700,000 listeners across 180 villages in Noor district. Maintaining this trust requires consistent training for its employees to fact-check all news and information.
एक factchecker.india है, एक Quint है, The Quint, एक alt news है.
Today, the Radio Mewat team is being introduced to Farzi, a game to sharpen their ability to spot fake news.
दूसरा, ठीक है, और अफवाहों से सबसे ज़्यादा नुकसान तब होता है कि जब लोग उन अफवाहों को सच मान के शेयर करने लग जाते हैं. तो उसके चक्कर में आपने देखा होगा पूरे दंगे हुए क्योंकि कोई अफवाह फैली थी कि किसी ने मीट काट के यहाँ डाल दिया है, किसी ने किसी को मार के वहाँ डाल दिया और वो सच भी नहीं था. फर्जी एक उर्दू शब्द है जिसका मतलब होता है फेक या नकली या गलत. ठीक है, तो हमारे पास एक ऐसा ही हम आपके लिए कुछ स्टेटमेंट्स लेकर आए हैं, कुछ जानकारी लेकर आए हैं.
डॉक्टरों और विशेषज्ञों के मुताबिक जिन लोगों को डायबिटीज या हृदय रोग आदि जैसी बीमारियां हैं वे कोविड के टीके नहीं लगवाएं क्योंकि उससे उन पर विपरीत असर पड़ सकता है.
ठीक है, तो क्या लग रहा है आप लोगों को ये फेक है? तो इसको हम इंग्लिश में, एक अंग्रेजी में एक शब्द होता है साइंस में, कन्फर्मेशन बायस. उसका मतलब ये है कि हमारे अंदर जो धारणाएं इतने महीनों से, इतने सालों से बन गई हैं, तो वो गलत भी है, पर क्योंकि मेरी धारणा से मेल खाती है तो मैं उसको आंख बंद करके सही मान लूँगा. तो सबसे पहले तो जब
Farzi was invented by Abir Kapoor, the founder of Civic Games Lab in Delhi.
Farzi is a card game, an app and a quiz show on fake news debunking. So what we do through it is take demystification but also debunking to the people rather than them actively finding out types of fake news amongst themselves.
Nobel laureate warns of man-made virus.
I think it's, I'm torn between fake and fact, but I would say it's fake.
Dr. Honjo denied ever making such a statement.
Okay.
So,
I don't take my shot.
So Rehan keeps that card. That's 1 point for Rehan.
Indians under the age of 25 account for more than 40% of the country's 1.5 billion population. That's the demographic focus for Abir through the use of mobile phones and digital gaming.
The demographic that this game is aimed at is a younger, more tech-savvy, more liberal, more aware audience. And what we found is that this audience that is as subject to fake news as anybody else.
Disinformation and misinformation were ranked as the #1 risk threatening India, outranking infectious diseases, illicit economic activity, and inequality. But the youth are finding creative new solutions to help educate fellow citizens about the threat that fake news poses. India's fight against those spreading fake news requires an all-inclusive approach to reach ever-growing pockets of new internet users, making this battle against a digital virus a continuous one.